2026 meeting of the Planning and Oversight Committee of the Mental Health Recovery Services Board. Roll call, please.
Mr. Brown,
Present.
Mr. Albright,
Present.
Mr. Arnold,
Here.
Ms. Banks,
Here.
Ms. Bell,
Present.
Ms. Carter,
Here.
Ms. Crockett, Dr. Elhai, Ms. Friedman,
Present.
Reverend Gordon,
Present.
Ms. Harding, Ms. Howe,
Here.
Mr. Lambert, Ms. Mendoza-Locke,
Yes. Here.
Mr. Ortley, Ms. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mr. Salas, and Major White.
Here.
Thank you. Recognition of visitors.
Tina Mason, board staff. Tina Mitch, board staff. Amy Kirkmeyer, board staff.
Robert Kasperzak, board staff.
Thank you. Alrighty, minutes for the May 5th, 2026 meeting. Hopefully everyone has a chance to review them. Motion?
I so moved.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Voice vote. All right, roll call, please.
No.
Vote, please. All those in favor? Thank you, I'm sorry.
Aye.
All day. All right. Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you, motion passed. Leave you alone.
Okay, I'll leave you alone.
It's been a busy day. If you only do.
Sunspots.
Are you sure you want me to leave you alone? You only do. All right, treasurer's report, Jenny.
The financial statements for April start on page 7. So if you look just at the April column, you'll notice we received our quarterly allocations from Department of Behavioral Health in April. And then the expenditures were somewhat a light month. April's usually fairly light. So we had an increase in net assets of $420,000. For variances, you'll see in local levy revenue, we are about $350,000 over budget, and that is where I expect us to be at the end of the fiscal year. The other major variance in revenue is federal revenue, and that is mostly due to the state opioid and stimulant response grant. It's a combination of late start and true underspending there. And then if you look at the expenses, you'll see in the grant-funded programs, about 1.3 million under budget. And that just overall to kind of give you a heads up of where we're ending at the end of the fiscal year. About a third of it is projects that were delayed start, and I think we'll catch up. Another third or so is true underspending. And then the remaining third is a combination, like the SOS funds, it's a combination. And then in the purchase of service line, I've been telling you the last several months that we are trending significantly underspent there. We're only at about 50% of budget. On the balance sheet on page 8, as I said, April was a pretty quiet month other than the quarterly allocations, which you see as the increase in cash. And then non-designated board fund balance increased to just over 25 million. And I wanted to point out the board designated line just above that, because that'll come in the next motion. That's at roughly 1.27 billion. And there are payments on pages 9 through 10 and a motion on page 6.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions?
Can you give me an idea of what purchase of service expense would be?
It's all of our treatment.
So,
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
So it's all of the actual fee for service claims that come through our billing software. So it's services that have been performed, and then they bill it through Streamline.
So you're saying you're underspent that?
Yes. Yes. We talked about it, I think, last month in the forecast. It's just been a trend. It's been a trend statewide. It's just a mix of a couple different things that it's just where we're ending up.
All right, thank you.
Any further questions? All right, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Alrighty, next item, board designation, Jenny?
This is on page 11. So, those of you that were here last month when we talked about the financial forecast, I told you that there was $2 million built in, a board designated line, and that we would bring it back to you this month to discuss it. So, what we're proposing to you is to designate $2 million, for priority services and populations. So, it serves a couple different purposes. You'll recall in the strategic plan that there was discussion about, I think I even have the exact wording in there, priority behavioral health services and populations to guide funding, oversight, and system development decisions. So since then, we've met with Dr. Gillette, we've been having that discussion. So if something were to come out of that we're not currently funding, that we want to be funding, this would allow us the funds just set aside for that purpose. In addition, there could be things, we know that major things are on the horizon. The housing continuum of care, Medicaid expansion. All of those things could have a very significant impact on the board, our system. And so we think that putting the funds aside for those priority services and populations that should something happen, we have the ability to pay and continue funding. We think that's probably the best use of our funds in order to say, this is our goal, this is our plan, the funds are here, should we need them. So I told you on page 8 on the balance sheet, we are currently at, well, as of the end of April, $1.2 million-ish in board designated. So if you pass this motion, it will make it just over 3.2 million. And then the intention would be the same we would with any designated funds. When we want to actually use the funds for something, we bring it back to you guys for an allocation. With an exact amount of what we
That makes so much sense to have some sort of set aside because Medicaid is what's hitting my brain the most lately and just trying to stay on top of how that's going to affect our population. So moved.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All right, any further questions? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you. Next item, Jenny?
This is also on page 11 and goes on to page 12. So you're aware we've had conversations about new concepts. They came and presented last month. So I just want to give a quick update. We have received a corrective action plan and we have received proof of payment of the outstanding taxes and penalties. The corrective action plan, we did a little bit of back and forth. We agree with this exception. It came back the other way. We are at an agreement. So we have a motion on page 12 that will essentially give a 6-month allocation starting in July through December. And then pending the corrective action plan and how it's playing out, if they're meeting their stated objectives, we will evaluate in September and then either bring before you an additional 3-month or a 60-day notice to not renew. So initially, we just have there on page 12, a 6-month fiscal year 27 provider agreement from July through December. And then the amount we determined is literally just half of what they're currently getting. So I can answer any questions. There is a motion on the top of page 12.
Motion to approve?
I'll move.
Second?
Second.
Any further questions?
I have a couple questions. If my memory serves me well, and it may not be, did we get the final audit information?
So we do have their fiscal year 25 audits. But when we presented to you for funding, we said that we wanted to essentially redo that audit. That was one of the things we discussed with the corrective action plan, and we're working it out with them, so we can jointly choose an auditor and both have our names on it and have access to that auditor.
Yeah, you aren't gonna get an audit done in the time frame that we allocated the funds right now. So, the plan is that we will jointly engage a mutually agreed upon, auditor to do 25. We'll cover the cost of 25, and anything that needs to change backwards up to $40,000. They'll cover the cost of 26, but we will both, the board and New Concept, be able to communicate directly with the auditor related to questions regarding 25 or 26. And we'll both get the information for both of those.
Were there any indicators in the 2025 audit that they submitted to you? Were there any flags, red flags?
I mean, yes, that's part of why we started this discussion. Yes.
So what would the impact be if we said no? How many clients are we talking about that they service that we fund?
Last count was 200.
Would those clients be able to be seen and treated elsewhere?
Moving 200 clients in 30 days, well, I would say 90 days, because you'd have to give them a transition period, would be doable. Maybe not at our existing providers, I mean, some, but it might cause us to look outside of our existing network to contract. There were two issues related to why we brought this to you to begin with. The first was the fees and penalties and taxes not being paid, which was a direct violation of our contract. That has now been resolved. The other was the long-term debt that had been accumulated. Our agreement, should you approve this, is to substantially reduce their long-term debt over the next fiscal period. And if they meet the benchmarks, their long-term debt would essentially be reduced by somewhere around 75%, two-thirds
Yes.
to 75%, which sets them up very well for future
Success.
operations, for success.
I
So,
wouldn't say long-term debt, though.
okay.
Their
so
line of credit,
their line
short-term.
of credit.
Yeah.
Okay. With those items essentially mitigated, either directly by payment, and it was $92,000 that they paid for those two tax settlements. They've mitigated the contract issue. The policy we have is you can't use lines of credit for ongoing operations. If we're going to hold the line on that retroactively, I think we're gonna find that more than just them are going to have problems.
I mean, like other providers are operating using credit.
Not to this level, so, I mean, we choose our, we time our intervention. I mean, it's, where it gets squishy is what do you define as long-term? Operations, that's where it gets a little squishy. And when you get to a debt ratio that they have, where essentially no cash on hand as of June 30th, 2025, then that causes us some concerns. We're comfortable with the agreement because it is doable with sacrifice, there's no doubt about that. It's actually below the monthly pay down that they proposed. They proposed 60 to 70,000. I felt it was more reasonable to do 50,000 a month. And if they hit the first benchmark within 4 months, then we'll give them, another quarter of their contract. So essentially, their line of credit
Yeah.
would be very, I guess, if they stayed on that path through mid-28, it would be gone. It'd be gone. This is fairly consistent with what, we've only had to do this one other time, and this is fairly consistent with what we've done in the past. Could we find another one? Yes. Should we? Our recommendation is to accept the agreement.
When you say, could we find another one?
Another provider to, yeah, we could.
That we fund.
And if this doesn't, if we have to give 120-day notice, then that's what we would be forced to do.
So,
Is that correct? I mean, in September.
no, because you will no longer have to provide a 120-day notice. 120-day notice ended as of March 31st. That law has changed.
Right, yeah.
That's
I know
60
that.
days
Oh, okay.
plus a 60-day transition period. So essentially, it could be 120. As I remember, the 120-day notice had appeals process, and
Right.
due process, and a lot of those things. That does not occur under the new process.
So just so I have the chronology in my head, in September, we would be checking to be certain that benchmarks have been met.
Yes.
And if not, then we give the 60-day.
And as, I should say, as part of the corrective action plan, it did say monthly reporting to us, so.
And presumably
We
it says
should-
timely monthly reporting.
So
They're timely, yes.
So
But
2
yes.
months into it, we will have a really good indication of where it's going. Is that the idea behind the monthly
Yes.
reporting, is that we will know real soon what's going on,
Yes.
and we can act accordingly. That makes me feel a whole lot better.
One other thing I'd like to understand, be sure I have it in my head correctly. We're going to identify a mutual, someone to do the audit. We are dividing it 50-50 for the first 25 for us and
No,
the payment?
no.
Oh, okay. Would you
No.
go over that again for me, sorry?
The motion that we passed was up to $40,000
Right,
for a fiscal year 25 audit,
right,
right? Essentially redoing what was done.
right.
Understanding that there might be some changes to the 25 audit that could very well impact 24 and 23 moving backwards. We wanted to make room for those changes to occur so that we have an accurate reflection of actually the fiscal condition of new concepts. Because of the timing, their state fiscal year is going to close at the end of June, so it didn't make sense to pick 2 separate auditors. So working with them, because we need their cooperation to get the information for 25, and they need to have a 26 audit anyway. They'll pay all of 26, we will pay 25 and retroactive for anything up to $40,000. So that's the split.
And one auditor is doing all of that?
Yes, yeah. it wouldn't make sense to have two separate auditors at that point. They can't work simultaneously because you gotta clean 25 up before you can move to 26.
So does that mean their 26th audit is going to be late?
Depends how bad 25 is.
Typically,
24 and 23.
auditors do this sometimes, they audit multiple years at the same time, and they
Okay.
do it in conjunction. So they might say, I'm testing payments for all 2 years at the same time, and then,
And then I would imagine it's cheaper having one
Yes.
audit to do it.
Oh,
yes,
Yeah,
So-
significantly, yes.
and we hope that they create a long-term relationship with whoever they select, so it has to be also economical.
Linda?
I just wondered, unless I'm not correct, right now, I only know one other place that does nighttime groups, and none of them that we found does groups at night. New Concepts does. So people who do have jobs yet, it's easier for them to go to New Concepts. Anyway, that's it.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe, are you aware of any? I'm not.
What are we gonna, what happens if the audit costs more than $40,000?
We did some preliminary evaluation of potential costs. and-
Right, but once they get into it, if they're going back a couple of years, is New Concepts gonna pay for that, or we?
Well, we only authorized 40,000, I think that's what we're in for.
Okay.
All right, properly moved and seconded.
Jeff has another.
Yeah, I don't mean to beat a dead horse. You know, the problems that they talked about, it's not as if this stuff happened overnight. And it's been a whisper for a long time in a lot of places. And what I felt like was, oh, I went on maternity leave and then this all happened. And now we're spending $40,000 money to look at their mess and stuff that we shouldn't have had to have done. And now we're gonna give them more money. And I get it, I don't want those 200 people stranded, but I do think it would be prudent to sort of keep in our sights another organization that we might be able to, so we're not rushing in 60 or 90 or 120 days. I just was not convinced by their presentation, to be quite honest.
I will just make one correction, sick leave, not maternity leave.
Okay.
Just for the record.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I misheard.
Yeah.
Properly moved and seconded. Any further questions? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Post.
Opposed.
Any abstentions? Motion passes.
Did you get the opposed? Okay.
May I ask, in a way that would be equitable to New Concepts, but also informative to the board, can we have a report before September? You know, can you kind of just keep us abreast?
Sure.
Yeah,
Of course.
Of how it's going and,
yes.
thank you.
Very good. Moving on to item 8, civil commitment designations. Elijah.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. So this is something we bring annually. This is our responsibility we have within Ohio Revised Code to appoint certain entities for voluntary and involuntary hospitalization. So you'll see in this motion, there's two separate motions. The first one is to authorize ZEF Center to offer evaluations for voluntary admission to the state hospital. Second to that is involuntary admissions, to complete evaluations for involuntary admissions to Arrowhead Behavioral Health, ProMedica Flower Hospital, St. Charles, the Behavioral Health Institute, ZEF Center for NLBH. So ZEF Center does the involuntary admissions for the state hospital.
And OBH stands for?
That's the state hospital, Northwest Ohio Behavioral Hospital. Healthcare. They took hospital out their name, so it's healthcare. Yeah, and then Toledo Children's, co-backer, and Senior Behavioral Health at the University of Toledo Medical Center, Assurance Health, which is a freestanding Jerry Psych Hospital and Core Diagnostic and Treatment Center. And then finally, Zeph Center to complete affidavits referred by probate court. So whenever probate court has someone they need evaluated, they refer them to Zeph Center for that. And then you'll see the second motion is to authorize, to approve our contract for the attorneys, Carla Davis and Chelsea Meister, to carry on the responsibilities of representing those who are involuntarily committed and doing those hearings on behalf of the board. So that contract is for up to $18,000, and that money was approved in May. So you'll see those two motions there. I can take any questions.
Take those together.
Yeah, you can check it.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second? Any further questions? Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Item 9, System of Care Extension. Elijah.
So you'll see this in the middle of page 13. We approved this back in October of 2025. Task placed a competitive bid for the state System of Care expansion grant that, and they were awarded those funds to expand their work with the DYS, or Department of Youth Service population. So historically, they've had a case manager who does monthly visits to those facilities, interacts with Lucas County youth in those facilities, and then upon their return, provides case management and linkage services. So this grant expanded that to offer more intensive services. They brought on a youth peer supporter to help engage with those youth. They're doing family support groups. Actually, they are on track to exceed their objectives they put in their application to the state. So we're very pleased with the results of this. However, when the state authorized it, we were given a date, and then a month into it, we were given another date. So currently, our contract ends at the end of June, and we need to extend it to the end of September. So we're not changing anything in our contract, anything related to finances. This is just to extend the agreement with TASC to provide these services until the end of September. So, and then there is a motion to that effect in the middle, page 13.
I moved.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions?
I have a question. So I just want to make sure I'm with you. So the only thing that's really changing is because of the later funding date, we're extending it, and the funding's already there.
Yeah, the funding's there.
Okay,
yeah.
okay, good.
Yeah.
I thought, well, I better make sure before I vote yes.
Yeah.
Any further questions? Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstain.
Motion passes. Righty, moving on. Item 10, Additional Recovery Housing Funds. Elijah.
So this, you can take out your supplement, your supplemental motion here. There was, we were missing $4, and we wanted to make sure we accounted for that. But we have an opportunity through the Department of Behavioral Health to offer $48,000 in additional recovery housing funds. This is for rent, and the current efficiency unit rate of $769. So with the amount of beds we have available in our system, that is not enough to pay for 1 month for all of them. So the most, we talked about this, how to do this. We came up with trying to figure out the number of beds and then divide that by kind of their how many they have in the full system. So you'll see that kind of breakdown there, and then we allocated by that percentage of the beds in the system. So and that's what's reflected in the motion, that $36,000 to Zeph Center because they have 142 beds. So they're carrying the vast majority of recovery housing beds in our system. Unison Health has 22 beds, and that would be about 5,600. Ohio Guidestone has 10 beds. We're allocating 2,500. And then T. Whitehead, which is on the east side, we've historically included them in these funds. They have 15 beds, and that's almost 4,000 there. So these additional funds can run till the end of December. We don't anticipate them lasting more than a month. However, we did want to get this to you in hopes that we could allocate this to our agencies for the work they're already doing.
As a point of clarification, on the chart, should that allocation be by dollars, or is that percentage?
Those are percentage of beds, and then the allocation by percentage for the dollars.
Okay.
So
So if we took the 48,000, just to make sure I got it, and we said 75.13%
is what we'll write there.
is 36,200, okay,
Understood.
yeah, I just needed to make sure I knew.
Will this result in additional housing or simply more money for them to run existing housing, the number of beds here?
Yes, this is to pay for rent for the existing housing, for the services they're already doing. So you'll remember, we've gotten two grants that have done this previously. The last opportunity we had, we were not awarded. So this was additional funding from 2 rounds ago. So the Ohio Department of Behavioral Health had granted that, and then moved money to the Department of Development, which you might remember those funds. So the Department of Development had an additional opportunity that we did not get. But when the Ohio Department of Behavioral Health had those funds, they had additional funds. You see that?
You're running out of hands.
Yeah. And so they are using those on-spec funds from the last 2 rounds to award those to the boards, and this is what they allocated to us. So no new beds that we've already that have been funded previously.
So previously, I think we got somewhere around 900,000.
Yeah, we had significantly more.
Yeah. And so when we ended up with 46 or 48.
So, question, on the revised page, did the percentage of beds flip, because the numbers flip on the chart between Ohio?
Yeah, so when I was doing it, I was listing the programs we fund and we're most familiar with, and then T. Whitehead, but when I did the math, I had it the other way. So I corrected it on the new page.
And also, as a point of clarification, it says for the period of May 1st through December 31st, and as much as this is June, should this be amended to say retro? Or is it proper as written?
I think it's fine as written. I think just pointing out that it is retroactive to May 1st was enough.
Thank you. All right. Properly moved and seconded, correct? Any further questions? Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Moving along to item 11,
Hold
code.
it, excuse me.
No one made a motion, right?
Oh,
I'll
Let's
motion.
redo
motion,
that.
right. Motion to approve?
I'll motion.
Second.
Second.
Again. Crawford, got it?
Yes.
Any further questions? Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. Moving forward to item 11, co-responder pilot. Elijah.
All right. You may have heard about us talking about a co-responder model for a while now. Well, it's coming to fruition next month. So We're anticipating July 1st, Zeph Center, through funds that the JCC has obtained, will be able to provide 2 co-responders to work with Toledo Police to respond to different incidences in the community. They're modeling the program off the Denver model, which places the clinician with a law enforcement officer, and they respond to all calls. So it's not gonna be just mental health calls. They found this to be the most effective way in utilizing the clinician. It also builds a lot of support for the program because they get to work with different officers throughout their time with them. So the co-responder model, there'll be 2 clinicians based out of the Scott Park office and central office, which is right over here in Erie. Now, as those responders will just be doing a response. So they'll be going and de-escalating situations. What happens after that? Currently, who knows? So we've been talking about how do we build additional support for the program, so we're just not responding, that there's some follow-up and potentially some case management, which is what we're bringing you today. So we've committed in our levy to provide some support for this co-responder model. So in working with Zeph Center, we've identified a need for a case manager who can do the follow-up for these co-responses in CIT as needed. So CIT also, you all know Lieutenant Kelly Russell, she responds to a lot of calls, but CIT in general responds to a lot of people every week. This case manager will be able to provide some outreach and support for them to help get people into treatment and the resources they might need to help stabilize. So what this motion is a year of support for a case manager who will work at Zeph as part of the co-responder model. They will not be responding with law enforcement. If I did not make that clear, they will be following up after the co-response has happened. So in that amount you'll see is close to $75,000. So we're asking this to run from July through June. I should note CJCC and Zeph are seeking additional funds to support a case manager, but this is one way, as we've discussed, how can we support this program? This is how they've identified one way we can do that.
Am I hearing you say that the co-responder pilot will enable a clinician to be with the officer?
Yes.
At the time of the occurrence?
Yeah.
And then the clinicians will have case follow-up later?
Yeah.
The question I have as it relates to, as it transpires, how much authority do they have to intervene, if at all?
The clinicians. So the clinicians will be working directly with law enforcement officers, and they will also, the clinicians also will become health officers, so if they need to write pink slips, they'll be able to do that. Yeah.
Okay.
They'll also have to go through some significant training for their safety. They'll be wearing bulletproof vests. They'll be doing a lot of that, so to maintain their safety while in the field.
So the fact that they're health officers gives them the authority to act if need be?
If need be, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they'll be with the law enforcement officer who will have the ultimate authority in those situations.
So as part of their duties, would they refer some of these people as part of their follow-up to crisis response? And then would that case manager follow through with the people that go through crisis response if they were referred by the co-responder?
So the co-response will provide the immediate on-site de-escalation and potential just for quick referral to different services. The case manager will follow up with more intensive needs to see, if they've made it to treatment, if they need more support there. Or also, they could follow up with maybe going to urgent care, for example. to the psychiatric and their urgent care if they need meds and things.
I don't think your question was answered though. So let me take a stab at it. Not all interventions result in somebody coming to the CSU or urgent care. That would be handled separately with SEFs. They already have follow-up for them. It's for those people who are remaining in the community, that there will be somebody that can follow up with those folks who remain in the community.
Yes.
So if I'm hearing it correctly, there'll be two clinicians who are assigned as co-pilots, co-responders, right? And this person comes in after the fact, and they're not, while they're gonna have bulletproof vests, they're not a uniformed person. There may be somebody that's gonna show up to help guide them to appropriate treatment or assess their needs, get them connected to community resources, correct?
Yeah, that's the role of the case manager, who will do all that after, like, you know, the days after.
Perfect.
But the case manager is not a field person, it's an office-based person. So the person who has the protective gear, there are the clinicians riding with the law enforcement officer.
Okay.
The case manager is an office-based person following up, calling, making sure, doing case management work, telephonic case management.
But helping them connect so
Correct.
they stay out of the system or get into the appropriate
Correct, yeah.
place.
Okay, so
That's
we're not funding the
perfect.
co-responder unit,
Yeah.
that's done in a
Yeah.
separate thing. This is a position with staff
I
to
love
follow
this.
up.
Yeah.
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 This is to help try to fill
This
that
just
gap
takes everything to
after.
that next level.
I love this.
So there is a motion towards the bottom of page 14.
So moved.
Second.
Any further questions? Those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Item 12, health officer designation, Elijah.
All right, on the back of page 15, you'll see our new designations. We have 3 new health officer applicants and 1 renewal. To note, we're still tracking demographics. We'll provide those in the new fiscal year.
Okay.
So we didn't want to do it 2 months in a row. Thought the new year would be a good time to do that. So, and you'll see that motion in the middle of page 15.
Has the way that we've changed the qualifications, I'm not necessarily demographically, but it has it made it easier, have we been able to get more health officers?
We're still seeing some variance in people becoming health officers and leaving, but that is like, we have a stable group of about 90 health officers in this system. The new ones coming in tend to leave quicker than about 90, but in all, we're averaging about 90 a month maintaining or more. I think, you know, we might have dropped down to 87 1 month, but we're still maintaining a high number. It's just kind of the new ones coming in tend to leave more quickly than those who've been at the agency for a long time. And that's what we see with retention at the agency. Some people have been there for a long time, and others who are new aren't staying as long.
So moved.
Second.
Any further questions? Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Open session. Richard?
Long days, so don't quote me on anything I'm about to say. Controversy at this morning's county commissioners, they were voting on economic development partnership agreements. Well, Anita Lopez said she wanted that removed so that she could discuss it separately. Apparently of this money, 15,000 would go to, and I apologize if I mispronounced, Nuestra Gente, the group that replaced Adelante. And her exact words were, I do not want to see another tragedy like the closing of Adelante. I did ask one of the county commissioners, what is she referring to? They didn't know. But she was interviewed, I know she was interviewed by Channel 13. You'll probably see that tonight. But she voted against it on the basis that she thinks something bad will happen. Let's see. And then the Citizens Levy Review Committee will meet Tuesday, June 11th at 10:30 a.m. That's a get-together meeting. They will most likely re-elect Tom Susor as their chair. He's been chair since the beginning, more than 20 years ago. And then on July 11th at 10 a.m., they will meet to discuss Imagination Station. I don't know the millage or anything like that, but they'll be probably the only money issue. Oh, I just came from a brutal city council meeting. Well, two of them, actually. Now, the first one, if I understand correctly, the Zoning and Planning Committee voted against a water tower at 910 Northover Road. Okay, we're getting money from the federal government, and the federal government has no sense of humor. If we don't do what we say we're going to do, they're going to fine us $4,000 a day. So Venice Williams brought it back for a special meeting, and they discussed it, and they said the neighbors don't like it, but that's too bad. So that will be approved. Okay. If there's a heat emergency declared this summer, they will waive the fees at all city-owned public swimming pools. That's certainly good. They had the police department there for a variety of issues. I thought they were going to need to call for backup. I mean, they really got grilled, both on the flock organization. They're going to provide all of our license plate readers and all of our drones, and it was very, very complicated, but they went on and on and on. Sam Meldon wants them to create a value statement on the use of technology, whatever that is. And, okay, but they approved everything that the police wanted, reluctantly. And let me just give you the facts, and you can draw your own conclusions. Zoning and Planning met last week. There is a proposed charter school at 3300 Glendale Avenue. If you read the literature, it kind of looks like just any other charter school. It's not. It is a dropout academy, not my words, theirs. It's going to serve up to 400 students. It mentions words like they have experienced significant trauma, they have emotional problems, things like that. Well, when they went before the Plan Commission does what they always do. They ask you how many trees you're going to plant, what's the landscaping. So they were passed. And so at the zoning and planning, the applicant called in and said, I'm not ready to present. Can you give me another month? That's Councilman Hobbs' district. He said he didn't want to do that. He said, I want to send it as approved right now. Other council members said, you sure you want to do that? He said yes. And that was approved tonight. It's in a heavily populated area with lots and lots of businesses, and I was looking forward to answering questions about security and all that, but the applicant wasn't even there. It was approved with no discussion, and the same thing happened tonight at agenda review, so that will be approved next Tuesday. What else? The program you were just talking about, what is that? That's the crisis response team. They will be heard at a very important meeting this Thursday at 5 o'clock. In addition to that, you'll also hear from the proposed Toledo substation, and you'll also hear a whole bunch of discussion. It says TPD Standard Operating Guidelines discussion. I think I know what that means. And this meeting could go 3 hours easily. But they will hear from Zeph Center. They will hear about the substation, and then whoever sits through the meeting basically gets to yell and scream or do whatever they want to do. And last week I attended a City of Toledo Human Relations Commission, a modern civic engagement ecosystem. Basically, the City of Toledo has 46 boards, half of which are inactive because nobody's showing up. Basically, they're going to create a board to find out why nobody wants to serve on boards. That's what it sounded like to me. And I'll be looking forward for updates on that. Okay, that kind of brings me up to date. I need to discuss something very important, so bear with me just a minute here. 10 years ago this month, this board tried to correct a mistake. I'm talking about the Recovery Council. Brief history. Recovery Council was a committee, just like you are, with covered under the Ohio Revised Code. All meetings had to be publicized, minutes had to be taken. They had 2 voting members on the Programs and Services Committee, which was the committee that made funding recommendations. It was a disaster. The attendance was awful. This is all a matter of record, they had to remove 25 people for lack of attendance. At the time that their charter was rescinded, they had another 7 that could have been removed, but it really didn't matter. I went back through my minutes, and all you got to do is read the minutes, and you'll see what the problem was. This is August the 30th, 2007. I was there. 1 person showed up, 5 staff members, including Jackie Martin, the executive director at the time. I cannot hazard a guess how many hours of staff time were spent on this. But they still went ahead and had the meeting. It was at about this time that they started to pay people to come up to meetings, and that's all a matter of record, how much they were paid. The big problem was the two members that were on the programs and services, they never showed up. So that made it difficult to establish a quorum, and that was a big problem. Here's one of the things, remember, this is the programs and services for June 25th, 2008. Jim Allenbacher of Harbor sent a memo to Jan Eppert at Rescue, and it talks about all of the Harbor people that are being sent to the old Central Access Program. She sent that to the Mental Health Board, and they printed it word for word. I mean, it had the names, first and last names of all the people that Harbor referred to. I spoke up. I said, guys, you can't put this in a public document. This is open to the public. What did the council do? Same as always, nothing. This went on for like 11 years. Oh, this is my personal favorite. October the 21st, 2014. They bickered about everything. They got into an argument about minutes of the previous meeting, and it took 3 pages to cover it. I used to sit in their meetings and just shake my head. I've never seen anything like this. My involvement was 4 years in a row. I put in an application, and 4 years in a row I was turned down. They would only appoint their friends. Put as simply as I can possibly put it, in 2009, when I submitted my last application, they needed a leader. By 2016, they did not need a leader. They needed a babysitter. The ending was ugly. In March of 2016, the governance committee took away the 2 seats that they had on programs and services because they didn't show up. Then in April, the Recovery Council attempted to have a meeting. They couldn't sit in the same room together. That meeting was canceled. In June, programs and services wanted to rescind their charter, but they didn't have a quorum. So they put it off to the following month. But June of 16 was when this board said, we've had enough. The charter was rescinded. The board tried to correct a mistake. Okay, having said that, I had to go back into my files 40 years for this. This is November the 1st, 1984. I got a letter from Carol Berndorf. She was the manager of marketing development at the board, and she thanked me for my views on stigma at the advisory committee of the mental health board. I have no idea what I said. It was 40 years ago, but they liked it. I eventually joined that. You talk about a great committee. Milford Romanoff was our chair, decorated World War II veteran. Mary Jane McCormick, later the chair of this board, she served on it. John Brandenberry, he served on it. We had all of our agencies at the time. West Center sent us Marion Lowe. Father Armstrong represented East Center. Robert Mosqueda represented I Center. Norma Nuccia represented Zeph Center. Dee Schultz represented the Mental Health Association. And it was a great committee. And it never was dissolved. What happened was, as we downsized the state hospital and millions of new dollars came in, the board expanded its committee structure into a children's committee and a substance abuse committee and a community support services committee. And it was great to have this pool of volunteers to serve on them. That was a great committee. So my advice to this board, if you want to put together a diverse group of people that would advise you on the, I know it's going to be some difficult times coming up, that would be a great idea, a diverse group with a common agenda. But if you want to pay a group of friends to be a legitimate committee, no. And 10 years ago this month, this board learned that the hard way. So, thank you for listening.
We would be remiss if we did not recognize Ms. Katina Harding, Ms. Banks, and Mr. Arnold for their service to the Planning and Oversight Committee, as it is their last official Planning and Oversight Committee meeting. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
But I miss you, David.
David.
And others. All righty. Any further comments? Meeting stands adjourned. Thank you.